Welcome everyone. I am Samantha Williams, the Entrepreneur in Residence, the EIR, at the New Haven Free Public Library. As the EIR, I offer office hours, Tuesdays and Thursdays from 2 to 4. Get on my calendar if you are an aspiring or current entrepreneur or small business owner and you have questions or you need advice or just to chat. You can find that on the library's website. Also, as the EIR, I offer weekly presentations via Zoom to our small business and entrepreneurial community. Today, we're going to be talking resumes for the job seeker. So we're going to expand our reach a little bit, and we are here to answer your resume questions that you may have for your resume, cover letter, LinkedIn, job search and strategy. Feel free to come off of mute or to put your questions in chat and let us know. So we are going to get started, and we have two on right now, Keith and iPhone. We have a mystery guest, iPhone. So please let me know if you have any questions. You can come off of mute, you can ask whatever questions, and we can get started. I'm here to answer your questions. I have a short deck we can go through.
And this will be recorded, so if you have to skip out, I know Keith, you said to Sammy you might not be able to stay for the whole thing. Do not worry about it. It's going to be recorded. So, and yeah, I do have emails to send out afterwards with a, like, sort of how did we do, what would you like to see in future programs, that kind of thing. So we'll definitely try and get your feedback that way too.
Yes, and the video recordings will be on the library's Facebook and YouTube pages. So you can check there in about a few days to a week or so, and they will be published there. So throw your questions in chat and let me know what you're thinking, what you need help with. This is my bio slide that I like to share. So as I mentioned, I am the current entrepreneur in residence, EIR, at the New Haven Free Public Library. I am also the president and CEO of Sam's Word, which is primarily a writing and corporate content development company serving entrepreneurs and small to mid-sized businesses. So up at the top right are some of the types of writing that I do, primarily for businesses and corporations. Included in that is the writing that I do, like resumes, right? So Sammy's been writing resumes for about 20 years, since about 2005. So I'm pretty experienced in the resume field. I've taught resume strategies for a very long time. And below are some of the workshops and professional development that I do. So in addition to, this one falls under the career readiness and development, but I also do social media, writing strategies for businesses. And then these were added this year, pivoting your business during COVID-19, and then preparing federal solicitation proposals. So I am well-versed in a variety of different writing formats, and understanding your audience and what needs to be in your business documents, including your resume. So you may be wondering, should you be updating your resume right now? Are employers even hiring? Are there jobs to look at? So when I started doing some research, as Colleen was saying, I did this presentation back in March, I believe it was, when we first shut down everything and businesses were closing, the economy was crashing, and people didn't know what to do in their job search. So a lot of this information I shared then, I've updated it to share now. And so this is the new information as of what's available this week for research. So as of the end of May, so as of May 29th, the United States have added 5.5 million new private sector jobs. So 5.4 million new jobs. And then I checked, I actually got an email yesterday from Connecticut government. I'm here based in New Haven, Connecticut. And so in Connecticut, as of June 2020, so as of last month, the employers added 73,300 jobs in Connecticut alone. So there are people in companies who are hiring. And I mentioned this before also, there are many industries that never shut down during the pandemic that we have. There are the essential businesses. There are businesses that you wouldn't consider to be essential, but they're working, right? Even though you may have a business job, a desk job, and you're not going to work. There are fast food industries that are continuing to work, that are expanding. There's a bunch of companies that are doing hiring campaigns right now. So to answer your question, yes, there are jobs available, and you need to have your resume ready now to apply for them, and then ready for those jobs who are reopening so that you can go after those positions.
Also, there's a lot of work from home jobs that like came up because suddenly people, like the library, I do the social media for the library. We had to put together a whole team because it was suddenly the only way we could reach the community was through our social media, and it became so much more important. So definitely there's a lot of work from home that are sort of like figuring out, like businesses that didn't really, they need to pivot and they need to offer these work from home positions. So I definitely would look at, like, there's ways in Indeed and stuff that you can like specify work from home jobs. Those are coming up every single day, I've noticed. So,
and it's funny you mentioned that, Colleen, because that's what I have here on the next slide. So navigating COVID-19 in this new job market that we're in, or this different job market, right? So you may have experienced COVID-related gaps in your resume, right? So historically, traditionally, having gaps in your resume is never a good thing. And the only reason for that is because it gives the employer, the interviewer, questions. It prompts questions. And you never want your resume to bring questions. You want your resume to be a complete document that answers any questions the recruiter or hiring manager may have. So when you have gaps in your resume, they think, oh, what were you doing during this time? Were you not employed? Why weren't you able to find employment after this one ended? And then what caused you to have these gaps? Were you strategic in your job search to fill the gap, right? So it brings a lot of questions. But in this state that we're in right now, you kind of have to just use, if you were laid off, use it to your advantage. If your organization shut down, if your position was eliminated, if you've been, I've had people who've been furloughed for a long time. They don't know if or when they're going back, but that's not of any fault of your own. And the job space, they call it, it was due to an economic issue, right? These economic circumstances resulted in you being laid off. It resulted in your organization closing and not reopening. And there's a lot of different reasons why these companies aren't reopening, and that has nothing to do with your performance. So when you're going into these interviews and when you're writing your cover letter, you just want to keep it real. You don't want to pretty up and say, you know, I've been an outstanding employee, and had they listened to me, the company could have stayed afloat. That's not what it comes down to. What it comes down to is we're in a pandemic, okay? We're borderline recession right now. And there's a lot of people in the same situation that you're in, right? We have record numbers of unemployment. For the first time ever, they're allowing gig workers and independent contractors, freelancers, to get unemployment. And the main reason for that is because the general economy can't even support the entrepreneurs and the gig workers because the general economy is out of work. So when you have, for instance, for my business, Sam's Word, I primarily write for businesses and corporations. But if businesses are slowing down their discretionary spend, like on writing services, then they're not going to have extra income or revenue to pay me to help them with those services. That's when they'll say, maybe we can do it in-house, right? So if the general economy and the businesses aren't having that revenue, they can't support the entrepreneurs, the gig workers, the independent contractors. So they're also seeking unemployment. So you have to really understand that this is not your fault, it's not your doing, and it's okay to address that in the interview. And some things you can do is just address what you've learned during this process. How you
I love that. And like
yeah.
you said, like they're gonna see this from everyone. Like they're gonna see this blank part like from everyone. So they'll ask, but they'll know the answer is COVID. Like
yes. And you have to understand also, re-entering the job market are some of these entrepreneurs and gig workers who can no longer sustain themselves financially, so they have to re-enter the job market. So that's a whole nother explanation they need to give. Oh, you couldn't keep your business alive during this time, now you're looking for a job, right? So there's a whole lot of uncomfortable conversations that may have to take place. But if you position it, I like to say you need to control the conversation, control what's put out there, right? Control the narrative. So if you approach it from a sense of, unfortunately, my company was impacted, I was impacted by the recent pandemic, but I've decided to use this time to understand what I really loved about my role, because you never want to talk about what you hated about your job, right? So I really want to talk about what I really loved about my role, and what I would like to do in my next career, because that career is done. Now we need to move on, right? So focus on your strengths. Think about what you really like doing, what you really liked in your previous position, and what you don't want to do. You don't have to tell an employer what you don't want to do, but you internally can think about what you don't want to do and know that when you're looking for jobs, I don't even want to do that. For instance, I was a project manager at Yale University for a few years. And then looking for new jobs, I understood I don't ever want to be a project manager again. So and I had, recruiters will contact you. Oh, I have a project management job available. And I'm like, I don't want it. I already know. Don't tell me anything else about it. I don't want to be a project manager. So understanding what you don't want to do and what you do want to do will really help you get the mindset ready to find those jobs that you're best qualified for and that you really want to do. Mm-hmm. And like Colleen was saying, you want to indicate your flexibility in your resume, in your cover letter, on your LinkedIn profile. So you want to look for those remote or telecommute positions. And those are the three words they're going to be: remote, telecommute, and work from home. Mm-hmm. Most recently, there's been a lot of talk about hybrid work styles, where you go into the office 2 or 3 days, you work from home 2 to 3 days, whatever it may be. So make it sure that you are interested and you're flexible. You understand that. Look what happened in March. At the drop of a dime, all businesses shut down. Yep. And you have to show that you can say, I have a designated workspace in my home, because those are the terms they look for. I have a designated workspace in my home where I can perform these duties uninterrupted. However, if you need me to come in the office, I'm here. I'm ready to show up. So you show that you have that flexibility. If you only want to do work from home, in the end of my corporate career, I was working from home, and I absolutely love working from home. After working from home, I worked from home for almost 5 years, and I said there's no way I could ever go back into the corporate office and, with the key card and have my own office and interact with people and do the whole snoozing over the coffee machine. I can't do it. I don't want to do it.
And you might be immunocompromised, and that's not something you have to tell them. That's just, you can say, like, I prefer to work from home, and that's why I found this job. That's why I looked into this job, because they'll say, like, work from home, telecommute. They'll say all those keywords. So if that's the kind of job you're looking for, make it clear that that's something you're actively looking for, and not something that you feel like you have to do because you're compromised or you're not comfortable going into the office or whatever.
And if you're going into work from home, telecommute, remote positions, and you don't have experience with working from home already, it's important for you to demonstrate and describe your abilities to work from home. Because there are some employers and some managers who are wary about their staff working from home because they don't have the full control over them like in a typical office setting. And so you just have to explain, I am organized, I am diligent, I get my work done, I meet deadlines, to make it clear that you will maintain your professionalism in and out of the office, regardless if you're working in the office or if you're working at home. So again, it's being able to adjust to that hybrid work style, okay? Because you never know what the next position is going to be, and you never know, we don't know what's going to happen in the next wave of COVID, if we're going to go back to phase 1 of reopening or go
this
back
is new for everyone. Like they almost don't know what they're looking for. Like they're like,
no.
We don't know where we're going to be in a month. So, you know, like showing that you can do both is probably really helpful.
Yeah. You know, if you interview and you say, I can only work in the office, I need to be in an office setting, I'm my most productive when I'm in an office, that may be true. But there's some things you don't want to say in an interview because it could eliminate you. If your only strength is working in an office and their whole staff is now working from home, they're going to say, why would I hire this person? They're not going to be effective, right? And you also don't want to, when you come across like that, it shows that you're maybe not a team player, that you can't adjust, you can't pivot, you can't innovate, right? You can't think on your toes and be able to make the next move based on what happened in the moment. And so employers, these are all marketable skills that employers are looking for.
I think in your cover letter, that's a really good way to talk about this kind of stuff.
The cover letter and the executive summary are going to be the best places for you to put this, not in your resume where you're listing, you know, your skills, your responsibilities, the organizations you've been with, the different sections we have in a resume. You need to keep that as is, right? But there are sections that you can utilize to show your flexibility as it relates to a hybrid work lifestyle, or working from home, or only being in the office. So we talked about kind of reevaluating what's happening, how to position yourself. So what is it that you need to do now? Because the time is now. And if you are unemployed, if you are furloughed or laid off, and you are anxious to re-enter the job market, there's some things that we want to do now. So requesting letters of recommendations from coworkers and managers. Some people make the mistake of only thinking they can only ask their manager or direct supervisor. But you can get a letter of recommendation from anybody, especially if you've had a not so great work climate, right? So you can go and ask your coworker who you've worked with, collaborated with, partnered with, you shared responsibilities, they've seen you in action. You can say, hey, can you do me a favor? I'm starting to look for a job. Can you please give me a letter of recommendation about my skills and how I performed on the job? Okay. Ask a few coworkers for that. Your manager may not be willing to give you a positive recommendation, but maybe their manager will. If you have a good rapport with other leaders within the organization, absolutely go to them and say, hey, remember we served on the same committee? Remember you helped me with this task I was putting together, or I did a presentation for your team, for your department. Tap into those resources and ask for letters of recommendations, okay? And then assess your career and educational goals. Now's the time to say, are you doing what you ultimately want to do? Now's your time to say, you know, I was doing this for 12 years, but I don't have to keep doing that. Maybe I can now pivot and go, I always wanted to be an accountant. Maybe I can go do that now, right? So think about using the opportunity and taking advantage of this time, because this has happened once with the Spanish flu, right? That the economy shut down. So it's going to be another, 100 years before, hopefully, before something like this happens again. So
and it's a great learning experience time. Like I love the idea of assessing your career goals and saying, like, was I really happy? What do I love about this job that I want to take to the next job? I think that's a great point.
Absolutely. And while you're in your roles, you probably have ideas. I want to go into this field. I want to get a certification in that. It would be great if I took a program on doing that. I can do some online courses. Now's your time. Polish up your skills. When you're looking, I tell my clients, when they're looking for a resume, I tell them, send me your resume because I need to look at your resume, see where it's at right now. But I also want you to send me 2 to 3 job descriptions that you're interested in, because I'm going to use those keywords and pull those keywords into your resume and cover letter. Standard is what I do. And sometimes it's a really good time for the client to go back and think, oh, what jobs do I want to apply to? I don't even know. So I have clients who say, I could do this, I could do that, I could do this, I could do that. And I say, that's awesome and that's great. You're going to get one resume. That one resume should be a melting pot of all these different positions so that you can submit that one resume to those positions. But
and I would say, like, with what you just brought up about training and like classes and stuff, put that in your resume, because that's going to be something that if I was looking at a resume, like the fact that you're actively training and you're still learning is like huge.
So I just, I said that to one of my mentees. So through Sam's Word, I also have a mentorship program. I have 3 mentees enrolled right now.
Sam doesn't stop working. Sammy just works nonstop.
Colleen, you should see what I got coming up. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be great.
Oh my God.
And so I'm constantly working on my resume also. I have a corporate and a personal, corporate and more like entrepreneurial resume. The both of them both have the professional development that I've been doing. So over the summer, I've enrolled in 2 courses. One was the Liberty Bank's Small Business Academy course, and I also enrolled in a social media marketing course through Roger Williams University. Those are 2 things that I can put on my resume to show that I'm trying to learn, broaden my horizon, get more information, and become more marketable. Those go on your resume. So there's different sections of your resume. You have your executive summary, which is right at the top. Depending on when you graduated with your education should be at the top. If it's more than 10 years, it's going to drop to the bottom. My master's just went to the bottom of the resume. You also need your profession. If you're in, like a nurse or a doctor, you have licenses and certifications and things like that. That'll be at the top of your resume. Then you get into your professional experience. If you have internships and they're relevant, you can include that too after your professional development. You also have your professional development section. That's going to be the training that you've been doing. That all this training right now is going to go in your professional development. If your professional development is recent, like these 2 courses that I did, they're going to move to the top of the resume, because that's going to be marketable skills that I can show that I did. You're also going to have sections for boards and commissions. So I serve on a couple of boards. I started a collaboration of minority women professionals. That's going to go under my boards and commissions because I have professional roles there. But then I also have affiliations. Those are companies that I'm kind of affiliated with. So professional affiliations and organizations. Those are all of the, like, my paid memberships and organizations that I'm a member of. Those will be listed there. You have.
And when we saw Sammy's resume and her CV, we were blown away by the amount of that she was involved in, because we know, like, we're looking to see how you spend your time. And that's like a time commitment. So it's good to put in your resume. Don't feel like, oh, this isn't relevant. It's relevant.
No. So to be here, guys, to be the EIR at the library, I had to submit a resume. So as Colleen said, Colleen reviewed my resume. Thank you, Colleen. Colleen loved me too when I interviewed. She really did.
Yeah.
But you have to submit your resume. So you have to keep it current. And I've had people who say, well, I don't want to include all of my professional organizations. I don't want to include all of my community involvement. So then I say, pick out the ones that really mean a lot to you, or really show, like Colleen said, where you're really spending your time, because employers do use that to make decisions. And then sometimes if you have something listed in your professional organizations and affiliations, or your boards and commissions, or your community involvement, that personally interests the person interviewing you, it can form a deeper connection there. So maybe they're on the fence, like, kind of like this person seems more qualified, but this person plays badminton like me, right? So then you never know what it could be. So the resume is your marketing tool to highlight all of your experience. I
would say also right now, if you're an activist, put that in. If you are into Black Lives Matter, if you are a protester, you know, there's ways to put that, and put that in your resume that you're like that, because people are going to see that you care about things outside of work. And like you said, badminton, like it could be something random.
Yes. And that would be like, and we are in an age when you can create different titles and stuff, right? So you can have your section on civil or social justice activism, right? And then under that, you can list the different protests that you've taken a part of, the rallies, if you helped organize any of that. That's still community work that you're doing. And some people may say, oh, but if I put that on my resume, maybe I'm not going to get a job. That may be true. And at the same time, do you want to work for an employer who's upset that you promote Black Lives Matter? Do you want to work for an employer who thinks it's political to say Black Lives Matter, right? So it's about when you're interviewing and when you're looking for a job, you're interviewing that company the same way they're interviewing you. You're qualifying.
I love that.
And they're qualifying you. So it's not like, oh, please, please, please give me a job. Yes, you want a job. Yes, you need income. But you also don't want to sell yourself short. And you don't want to feel like you have to go to work and misrepresent yourself to fit the status quo. As a Black woman, we've been doing that long enough and it ain't happening no more, okay? So it is what it is. Actually, Colleen, the newest organization that I joined is the New Haven chapter of the NAACP, okay? So that's on the resume. And if someone sees my resume and they say, oh my God, I cannot believe she's a member of the NAACP. I cannot. And they don't want to hire me. They don't want to work with me. They don't want to partner or collaborate. Have that. Because I'm not going to hide that part of my identity to fit your company and what you think is appropriate. That's a whole nother conversation. So
important conversation. Yeah,
it is an important conversation, especially now where people are like, of course, I have a lot of friends. Of course, I'm pro Black Lives Matter, but I can't put that on social media. And I tell them, don't worry, I'll put it on social media for you. You just like it, or you can give it a head nod. Because some people don't even want to like it because they're afraid the wrong person is going to see that they like the Black Lives Matter thing. It's okay. It's all right.
And if we're hiring, we kind of want to know, like, you as a human. Like, we want to know through your resume and through your cover letter, like, who you are, not just if you're an automaton and you can do all these skills. Like, that's really important.
I should also include, yes, it's definitely acceptable to put Black Lives Matter and the social justice protests and stuff on your resume. However, if you are not on that side and maybe you are a member of, say, the KKK, I would not necessarily list that on the resume.
Oh, man.
That may be your personal preference, right? But you also want to remember that the resume is a tool to market yourself, and classifying yourself with such an organization may not have such a good connotation. So I would probably leave that off. Okay.
I can't even believe you just said that. That's crazy.
So, Colleen, there's two sides to it. True, yeah. Okay. But in the same sense, say you are a Trump supporter or a Republican supporter, whatever that may be, that's fine for you to add to your resume also, because it shows that you are involved in politics and you do care about politics. There's always going to be, we have different parties for a reason, right? So it's not like you have to be of a certain party and that's the only thing you can put on the resume. It's perfectly fine if you are into politics and you happen to be Republican and you happen to be a Trump supporter. I apologize. I feel sorry for you, but if that's fine, if that's what you want to do, that's great. You can put that on your resume to market yourself, especially if you're trying to get into the political arena. I recently just worked with a company in DC who targets people who want to run a political campaign. So your state representatives, your mayors, your governors, they directly work with them. So if that's the arena that you're in, you need to put that information out there. So you want to enroll, back to the deck, you want to enroll in enrichment and professional development courses. Like I said, I'm in a course at Roger Williams University, and they have a whole professional development. So it's a university, you can get your degrees, but they also have training development for entrepreneurs and for business professionals, just so you can learn one targeted thing. So I enrolled in the social media course. I think it was about $120 or something. And again, that's just to polish your skills. Skills become outdated and irrelevant. So if you got a certification in marketing back in 1993, it's probably not going to be relevant right now. So it would behoove you to go and find out if you want to go back into marketing, but you've only been doing traditional marketing, you know a little bit about digital marketing, you really need to get educated on the new era of marketing, digital marketing, social media, because there's so much that has evolved in that space since you first entered it. So, that takes a little bit of self-awareness to sit back and say, I've been doing this for 20 years. I can't believe they laid me off. Let me go find a marketing job. Wait, I think I need to learn something else. I need to learn something.
Let me brush up on my skills.
Yes.
That is important. Yeah, that's a great point.
And one thing that I recommend my clients do is when you're looking at those job descriptions that I asked you to bring to me, look at those, the preferred skills and qualifications. So on the job description, it's going to have the overview of the company. It's going to have the description of your role, what they're looking for. And it's going to have the minimum qualifications. That's what you need. And you don't even have to have all of them. They usually want majority. So like 3 to 5 of these minimum qualifications. And then they have the preferred qualifications. So if you have anything in that preferred section, then you have a leg up on your competitors, because that's what they're really looking for. So look at those job descriptions and see those positions that you're interested in. What are the skills and qualifications that you need to even apply for that job? Okay, and then also keep in mind that when you're looking at a job description and you have the minimum qualifications and you have the preferred qualifications, those skills listed under the preferred qualifications is going to get you a higher pay. So if you have those preferred qualifications, you can go in higher in negotiating your salary or your pay for that position because you have those preferred skills or more. And when they say, I want to give you the job for $45,000, and you say, well, I actually exceed these 5 preferred qualifications, and so I want 52. Then you start to counter, and also always counter whatever, and give yourself a raise. So when you're going for a position and they ask you, we want to give you the position, but what is your salary expectation, or what are you making now? If you're making $40,000 now, tell them you're making $50,000. Why? Because when they offer you the position, they're going to offer you the job at $50,000 or $52,000. So if you're making $40,000 now, give yourself a raise. Tell them you're making $50,000. They offer you $50,000, $52,000. You counter and say, I would like it for at least $58,000. They say we can't do $58,000, but we can do $54,000. Give yourself a raise. Okay. If you don't walk away from this with anything else, give yourself a raise. So then if you're thinking, maybe you want to switch industries, this is your time to research and learn and see how did companies and industries last during COVID. Which industries are considered COVID safe right now? Who's employed no matter what? Right.
And also bringing that up, I would say if you're looking at these, like you were saying, you're being interviewed, but you're interviewing these companies, see how they treated their staff during this time. That's huge. See how they pivoted during COVID and what they did during COVID, and see like, did you still pay your employees? Did you fire a bunch of employees? That's huge.
And I say this all the time too, because there are people who are still employed right now and they're starting to look for jobs, or they're going to wait until September, October to look for jobs because of the way their employers treated them while employed. So yes, it's great to have a job because job help pay the bills, keeps your resume aligned. But if you're unhappy and if you're not feeling valued and you don't feel like your employer takes your life seriously, now's the time to go start doing some research and see where you can take your skills and qualifications and move it to another employer who values their employees.
Ask that question when they say at the end, do you have any questions? They want to know, like, do you have any questions? Like, don't say, no, I've just like heard everything. That's great. Ask that question.
Also, when you're in an interview and they say, do you have any questions? Never say no. You should at least have 2 to 3 questions prepared. No matter how the interview went, what you discussed, you should go into that interview with 2 to 3 questions. Okay. And now COVID just gives you a lot of questions you can ask. 1, did you lay off any employees during COVID? And if so, how many? How many did you bring back after COVID? Did you decrease employers' pay during COVID? Did you decrease hours during COVID? Right? These are all questions. Did you give any bonuses to your essential employees throughout COVID? Right? So start thinking about, and you can Google which employers perform best during this pandemic. There's plenty of articles out there. So you can Google and research, and that research alone can give you a starting point of questions that you can ask, okay? So you also want to learn about the companies before interviewing. So I've done it before, go on an interview, and I don't know nothing about the company. I did an interview one time, and I thought I was interviewing for a company and that was based here in West Haven, but the interview was in like Cheshire or somewhere, and I kept asking, yeah, but are you going to have positions open in your West Haven campus? And they're like, what West Haven campus? Because I didn't know about the company. I just wanted the job. So, you don't want to do that. You want to know about the company. You want to know how they're performing right now. You want to know some of their goals and recent accomplishments so that you can speak to it. So you can go into an interview and say, I think it's really great that you guys are deciding to expand and build that new building because it's going to bring jobs. You're going to be able to further research. Whatever it is that company is doing, you should know something about that company. Even the interviewer. Once you have your interview confirmed, you should have a person's name. You should have an email address. You can Google them. You can go on LinkedIn. You can find out more about that recruiter or the hiring manager. You can go in and say, congratulations on being recognized by X, Y, and Z. That's going to show that you did your due diligence and you did your research and you came in knowing more than the next person. That's a differentiator for you. This one I think is really big. So you want to network and expand your professional reach. Get out there and meet people. Join networking groups. Join chambers of commerce. Guess who are members of chambers of commerce? Businesses. Businesses hire people. See what I'm doing here? Right? Get into the spaces where the hiring managers are. You can go to chamber events either for free, they have free events, or you can do like networking events and get into those spaces so that you can see these different businesses that's in the space, and you can start to network with the recruiters, and you can network with the hiring managers.
They want to see you show up, and like that doesn't mean physically show up. Like they're putting on these virtual things that you can just easily show up to. Get the Zoom link, go.
90% of getting the opportunity is just in showing up. You know how many people just don't come? They don't show up. You already eliminated yourself from having that opportunity. And then also consider consulting and freelancing. What is it you did at your job? And how can you turn that into a consultative type role and be an entrepreneur and do it on your own? My background was is in healthcare administration. I was a hospital secretary for a very long time. Then I went into project management at Yale, and then consumer experience design with United Healthcare when I was working from home. I can pull any of those professional areas, even if it comes down to secretary. I can say, I'm going to teach you how to be the most effective admin assistant in your role. I'm going to be your executive coach, and I'm going to make sure that, you know, there's women and men who want executive admin roles under the president, right? The president of an organization has an executive admin, but it takes skills to get to that level. You can position yourself as a coach to teach secretaries to be the best secretary ever, right? You can be, I was a project manager. I know many project managers I work with who decided they were going to start their own project management firm, and they were going to consult with organizations and be their project management team. So instead of you a company hiring project managers within the company, they outsource it and they hire you as a consultant. So think about all of your skills and what your strengths are, what people would pay you for. This is how you start to think about, if you want to run a business, what it should be, right? What are you good at? What do people need? Where's the need? What will people pay for? And how is that pay going to be beneficial for you, right? So start to market yourselves, and then consider going into freelancing. So Keith and iPhone, do we have any questions yet?
Use the chat, or yeah, take yourself on mute, ask some questions, yeah.
So we're talking about marketing yourself, right? The resume. These are some of the extra ingredients, I like to call them, right? Put some little flavor on your resume. So you have your sections that we were talking about, but think about the different projects that you were involved in, the different committees. When I was at the hospital, I served on, as a secretary, I was an admin, and I served in different committees within the hospital. Don't you think that makes me a little bit more marketable than the next secretary who's like, I just answer phones all day? Sorry for the stereotype. But it shows that you're willing to grow, you're willing to learn, and you can take on added responsibilities. When you're in these committees, you have roles and responsibilities, right? So you want to put that on your resume to market yourself. You want to talk about your accomplishments, how you compare to others, how you've exceeded sales goals or revenue or whatever it may be. You want to talk about your key responsibilities, and you don't want to go to the nitty-gritty of your responsibilities. I've seen resumes that say, I took paper out of the printer and stapled it and filed it away.
Hey, as a librarian, printer skills, you put those in.
Okay. Printer skills.
That's funny though. That is really funny though.
When you're talking about printer skills, when you have these mega printers that are like making brochures and stuff, where there's like 16 toner cartridges in the printer. Because as a secretary, that was part of my thing too. I had to troubleshoot the printers, right? Yeah. So yeah. Understanding how to put that into your resume, because it makes you marketable. Did we have a comment, Colleen?
We do. I was just going to read that. Let's see. Okay. Go to the chat. We have no questions yet, but I'm busy taking notes. That's great. We want to make sure, we want to make sure you're taking notes on this stuff.
Good note taking.
Have the recording that you can go back to too.
Yes. So your key responsibilities, you want to think about, go back to your job description. And no, do not copy and paste your job description into your resume. Don't do that. We know when you do that. But you want to pull out those high level responsibilities that would show up on your resume, that your employer, if they needed to replace you today, what are they looking for in the next person? Okay. You also want to use your industry specific keywords. So that's how you get picked up later on. I'm going to talk about the ATS. That's how you get picked up in the application tracking system, using those keywords. That's why I tell my clients, send me 2 to 3 job descriptions that you really want to apply to. I'm going to pepper those keywords throughout your resume and cover letter. Okay, because that's going to get it picked up. It's going to get it picked up on job boards like Indeed, Career Builder, and Monster. It's going to get it picked up on LinkedIn when you're submitting your resume. Or if you have, which I tell my clients to do, take your elements from your resume and put it in your LinkedIn profile. Once it's there, SEO, the search engine optimization, is going to work for you. But in order to do that, you need to have those industry specific keywords embedded in your profile. And again, you want to talk about your COVID specific job accomplishments. How did you show up in the face of COVID? How did you stand out? How did you go above and beyond? What did you do to show that you are a team player, a leader, and that they need to hire you and your job needs to keep you? Think about what you did. I've worked with nurses recently. A lot of nurses in this pandemic are now coming to me for resumes because they want to get off of those COVID floors. Like, there's floors designated for COVID, and they want to get off of those floors. They want to go into another area of nursing, move into another part of the hospital, whatever it may be. But a lot of those nurses, our nurses are our heroes right now, right? I worked with respiratory therapists. When I worked at the hospital here, I was a secretary in the respiratory therapy department. The respiratory therapists are the ones dealing with the COVID patients on the intubators. That's not the nurse's job. Those are the respiratory therapists. So think about, if you're a nurse, if you're a respiratory therapist, how are you showing up? What did you do?
Yeah, that's great, because that gives me an idea, like with the libraries, have been showing up, and they've been making, like, I work in the Tinker Lab sometimes as part of my job, and we've been making masks on our 3D printers. And so, like, if you've been doing something that really has to do with, like, it's outside of your job description, and you think, oh, that's really outside of, like, what I've been doing, still put that in. That's important.
Yeah. Now is not the time to say that's not my job. It's not in my job description. Now's the time to say, I can do that too. I can do my job and I can do that, and I can do them both well. Colleen, even for you at the library shifted, right? And it was quick that the library had to shift to an online virtual platform, providing resources and training and all kinds of things online. And you were a spear leader for that, right? You took the initiative. That goes on your resume, Colleen. Don't listen to that, Gina.
Good to know.
And you want to expand your online presence. That means leveraging social media, LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You need to make yourself marketable. On LinkedIn, there's a way for you to say, I'm open to job opportunities, that you want recruiters and hiring managers or all of LinkedIn to know that you're open to job opportunities. That way, when positions come up, they can see it in your profile. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, put your resume out there. Get people to see you. Market your skills. You can create social media profiles just for your job search journey, okay? And you can use that to say, I'm interviewing here today, I'm going here today, I sent a follow-up email to this person that I interviewed with. Take advantage. These are free methods you can use. If you're gonna take that approach, use hashtags. I was in consumer experience design at United Healthcare. So that's UX, UI, consumer design, right? So using those hashtags so that when employers and hiring managers are in these spaces, because they're people just like us, and they're in these spaces and they're looking for people who can show up, they find you. You can create a personal website. On your personal website, you can make it work as a portfolio. So you have an example and experiences of what you've done. You can put up those letters of recommendation, put them on your personal website. That's your website. You can do whatever you want with it. Again, attend online networking events. Last week, I was in a networking event in Texas on Tuesday. And then on Friday, I went to a chamber event in New York Friday morning. And I'm coast to coast right now, right? Use these as, and then you talk about the networking, the working from home, the telecommute. So United Healthcare is based in Minnesota. I live in Connecticut. I was networking in Texas. If somebody has a job opportunity open, actually, I have a lead from that Texas call, somebody who needs help with their social media. So I don't live in Texas, but I showed up on that Texas call. Now I have a Texas opportunity. So somebody in Texas or Wyoming or somewhere else may have a telecommute role position. But if you're not in that space, remember 90% of it is showing up. If you're not in that space, you're never going to get that opportunity. So find online networking events and get in front of the people. And then we have the ATS, that's the application tracking system. How do you get your resume in front of the recruiter or hiring manager? The keywords, right? We talked about taking those keywords from those job descriptions, putting it throughout your resume and cover letter. Googling the job descriptions, everything is out there. I don't care what the position is. If you put it in Google and type job description after it, you're going to get job descriptions. put it in Google, get the job descriptions. Peppering the keywords about the resume, effective cover letter, the executive summary. The executive summary is going to go at the very top of your resume. It should be about 3 or 4 lines long, and it's going to be a brief synopsis of all of the best qualities in your resume. So if the recruiter only read your executive summary, they didn't read the cover letter, they didn't read the resume, they get a good understanding of your skills, abilities, education, training, right? The cover letter is essential because if they just read the cover letter and not the resume, they can read that cover letter and get the same information, but on a deeper level of your skills, abilities, education, and qualifications. You can use LinkedIn to apply to jobs. LinkedIn makes it very simple. A lot of them have an easy apply feature. You just press the button and voila, it's done. And so you might want to think about investing in developing a stronger LinkedIn profile, your summary or about, whatever you want to call that section. You really want to think about that because employers are looking at that. And actually, I want to shift to, can you see this new one I just brought up on LinkedIn?
Leveraging the LinkedIn app? Wow.
Yes. So this is a presentation I'm doing on LinkedIn later on Friday. And so it has a section here. So profiles, the summary, profiles with the summary receive 7 times the profile views. A summary of 40 words or more makes you more likely to turn up in a future employer search. Okay, so think about that. You need the summary, but your summary needs to be 40 or more words. Okay. So you have your experience. Profiles with more than one position listed receive 12 times the views. Members who have an education on their profile receive an average of 10 times more profile views. Okay, wow. So you think about leveraging LinkedIn, and we talked about this down here, the volunteer experience and causes, right? LinkedIn members with volunteer experience receive 6 times the profile views. 42% of hiring managers surveyed by LinkedIn said that they view volunteer experience as equivalent to formal work experience. And this document here, this one on the, these are 2 different pictures. This graphic on the right came directly from a LinkedIn document that I found doing my research, because research is important. We're always researching. Okay, and we are just about at time. My last one for you guys, update your resume. Always constantly update your resume. I'm constantly updating my resume. My clients, they call me, Sammy, can you update my resume? Make sure you're constantly updating your resume. So, all
right, do we have any, like, final questions? Don't worry, you can definitely, she's got a lot of information. You can definitely go back through this and pause the slides and write on the notes and see what she's talking about that we didn't get to. And we'll be having future events, definitely based on like I'll be sending out an email. I'll be doing what's called a project outcome survey, and you can let us know like what you're interested in and what you wanted to hear more about.
And I just put this slide back up. This is my contact information. Keith, who's on, found me on LinkedIn through the Pro Finder tool. If you need a resume, you can go on LinkedIn and search for pros, and they will send you leads of people who are experts in your field of what you're looking for. So find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, or shoot me an email. And if we have no questions, then we can conclude it. I look forward to hearing from you, Keith, and you, iPhone, our mystery person. Just let me know who you are when you contact me.
Yeah, say that you were here. That's great.
Yes, so that is the conclusion. Oh, yes, Keith and I have an appointment tomorrow. Yes, we will chat tomorrow. Awesome. All right, everyone, enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. I hope you learned something. I hope it was beneficial.
Stay cool. Stay cool in your AC. All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sammy. This was great.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. All right.
Okay.
Looks like it's just us. All right. I'm going to close the recording. Thank you so much, Sammy. This is always great.
That was fun.
All right.
Oh, my LinkedIn is talking.
All right, I'm going to end this so that we have a clean recording, but let me know if you need anything else.
All right, see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.